Here we go with a very interesting show. On the heels of the SummerSlam, we get Monday Night Raw. We always expect that Monday Night Raw, the next showing of the WWE, must be good. If they don't do it right that day, the entire month is going to be screwed. So I have to say they did actually quite good. Now I'm getting rid of all this other stuff first because we're going to deal with the elephant in the room later. So the first match of the night was Cody versus Damian. I was very happy to see how the match was in SummerSlam. I enjoyed it. It was a good match. This wasn't a bad match either, but this leads into eventual battle for that briefcase. Cody won that match. He did. And now Cody, hopefully maybe by Night of Champions, is going to face Damian for the Money in the Bank briefcase. I was very upset that it wasn't done, but it's still something that needs to be built. If they had done it then the feud would be over. And I realized that by the time the show was over. I said, I'm so glad that Cody and Damian did not go after that briefcase. I didn't mention it in my SummerSlam review because I wanted to give you exactly what I was feeling at the time. But honestly, I'm very glad they're continuing this. This could still be dragged out for quite a while, and I'm going to go for it with that. Now, the next match I'm going to talk about, actually I'm going to do two matches at the same time. Dolph and the Shield and Big Show and the Shield. Early in the night, we got the Maddox sighting. Now, I know there have been a couple of people that have been calling SummerSlam Maddox Slam. I can understand that because of how Triple H became the guest referee for the Ultimate match, which actually is my second Ultimate match. You know how I feel about it. But it was understandable for them to be saying that. That's the Sleg Daddy and Mike, who used to be known Mr. Ralph. You want to go and check them both? Check them. Go to the Off the Rope Show Central and Mr. Ralph. I'm still glad to see that on and off that both these groups are still, well, Sleg Daddy and the guys from the Off the Rope Show originally are still doing their videos, so I'm very happy about it. But the way I feel about this match, seeing Maddox basically say that Dolph insulted the boss, so let him show off. And then later, in an interview with the Big Show, which he says clearly, ladies and gentlemen, that he and Mark Henry are going after the tag titles, I'm alright with that. As a heel tag team, it would be better for them both. But it looks like they're going to be faces. But still, two monster guys that will hold those titles and make it difficult for anyone else to come out. And that's alright. But the matches themselves, the Dolph and Big Show match, were they really necessary? Because I'm kind of worried about Dolph. You see, Dolph had a tag team match where all three of the Shield had to tag in and out. Unlike the Big Show, who had all three of them in the ring at the same time with him. Dolph got beaten. There was no way he was going to win this anyway. But that kind of makes me worry that they may try and throw Dolph on the US title. I'm hoping they will not. That's just a thought I have. You guys tell me below. I'm hoping that's not going to happen. We need Dolph to be in the upper mid-card. I'm not a big Dolph fan, but I do believe that he has the potential to do some good work. Just the WWE need to finally do something with him. As for Big Show, you already know my thoughts on my SummerSlam review. That the matches for between the Divas and Rob Van Dam and Dean Ambrose should have been switched. I can understand why they did it with the Divas because Total Divas is so over and I got something to talk about when it comes to the match with the Divas. But you understand what I feel. I just feel like there's almost no build for Big Show and Mark Henry because they deserve it. So both matches were not bad. But I really feel the Shield, they've been losing a lot and there's no relevance behind them. So they could have lost at least one of those matches. They didn't need to win both. And I'm wondering if Seth Rollins hurt himself for real. If he did, hopefully he's alright. Now, the next thing I'm going to talk about is the Bray Wyatt R-Truth match. They stuck Bray Wyatt with the guy who he first started with, which is basically R-Truth. It was a short match. Bray Wyatt kicked his ass in short order, and that was alright. I still like the part where he bends over backwards in the corner and looks at everybody and says, "Come on!" it's still being done well with the Wyatts. I still believe the Wyatts are going to get over in a big way, and the Shield are going to fade away. That's my feeling. And I hope I'm right. So, the next match I wish to talk about, and this is on the heels of the announcement from Darren Young. The Real Americans versus the Primetime Players. You could see the Primetime Players have now been turned to face. They've been flipped. And the one that was the most spotlighted there was Darren Young. Do I have a problem with that? No. I'm not saying Darren Young isn't a good talent. Neither is Titus O'Neil. Between the two, I believe Titus has a more greater potential than in Darren Young. I'm just being honest, not by just Darren stating that he's gay or not. I'm just saying by potential, by the 5 tools. Darren Young's physique is not bad, but he doesn't have that. Darren Young is a good talker, but Titus O'Neil is better. In-ring presence, at this moment, Titus O'Neil is not too bad, but maybe if he goes and does something different, maybe he will be at the same point as a Titus O'Neil. Darren Young doesn't have it fully. So essentially, he's a scale down from a Titus O'Neil. That's okay at this moment, because now that they've been flipped to face, maybe a Darren Young will begin to get over. Of course, because he said he's gay now, that might actually bring more interest to the product. So they want to promote it. I said it before and I'll say it again. The brass in the back had to know that he was gay. And they said, look, we're going to wait a little bit before we announce it. When we do, we'll make sure you get what you need. And everyone that already knows it will be allowed to be interviewed. And you will get over. And this is the beginnings of it. There's not much of a problem with it. It just counts on how far they're going to go with it. Will it last a couple of months? Will it last a year? Or will it drop after a couple of weeks? You never know with the WWE. But for Titus O'Neil and Darren Young, I'm happy they won a match. And I'm happy that Darren Young, I'm sorry, I'm saying mixing them up. I'm glad that Darren Young, that he is gay, is happy with himself, and he doesn't have to feel any type of pressure. So let's move on, ladies and gentlemen. The Ryback segment with the guy in the locker room. I just want to get this over with. It's the most stupidest shit. They're not showing Ryback going after somebody other than jobbers. I said this already. There's no point for Ryback to be doing this. Trying to get him over in the back, being a bully, and hearing the King said, well, we can't use him in the bully campaign. This just obviously looks like they're trying to make him into a big bully and then have him go after somebody who he can easily pick on. I'm not fond of it. It's actually boring me. But this is what we're stuck with, so hopefully it'll be over soon. Now, my next match I want to talk about, which I was very surprised, was Sin Cara versus ADR. Now, Sin Cara, we know, is a total jobber and he ain't doing that great. Seeing him supposedly hurt his hand and ADR beating the crap out of him just made me feel like they're still catering to the Latino crowd. There's nothing wrong with that. They're going to do whatever they can to get ratings. They're going to do whatever they can to get money. And that's the best way to do it. But seeing a Ricardo Rodriguez after the promo segment from an ADR stating this, I expected him to team up with Rey Mysterio. Now, I haven't heard Rey coming back yet. But when he came out with Rob Van Dam, I was actually saying, what the fuck? You're teaming Rob Van Dam with Ricardo Rodriguez? And then it made me think. They could not pair all three together. I said for SummerSlam there was a good chance between RVD, Christian, and ADR going after the after the world title. Sorry, I stuttered. It's something that surprised me. But this actually makes sense. ADR is really doing nothing. RVD is somewhat hot right now. People are very interested since he came back. So they couldn't just bury Christian after being gone for 9 months in the back. You know Christian was in the back for 9 months doing nothing. So they had to let him have this moment. So going into Night of Champions, do I believe this is going to be great? I don't know. Seeing No Job Rob doesn't fill me with a lot of interest yet. So it's going to count on how they're going to build up to Night of Champions. I just don't know. So our next match will be 3MB versus the Usos. The boys finally won some match, and they got a chance to dance like their daddy. And it was Jimmy, I believe, was the one who got the pin over Jinder Mahal. It looks like they finally realized they need to do something with Usos. I don't know if they'll win the tag titles. I've already said this so many times over the last couple of months. It's not the point if the Usos deserve it or not. If they have charisma or not. They've been around long enough that it's time for them to have those titles, have a short reign with them, and then hand them over to somebody else. It could be with the Wyatts. It could be with Big Show and Mark Henry. You never know. But the Usos, actually to me, I do believe they deserve it. They've been around long enough. And with my wonderful Naomi, I want to see her happy. I want to see her man get what he deserves. And that's those tag titles with his brother. I kind of wish I was in his shoes. But you know what I mean. Let me see. There was a lot going on with this show, ladies and gentlemen. Total Divas versus Divas. The Funkadactyls versus AJ and Layla. Seeing the Bellas say to the Funkadactyls, you better not disappoint us. You're representing Total Divas. Made me think this. I don't believe they're going to do this, but you know what? This might actually be the best thing to do. If they split the Divas into a faction between Total Divas and Divas, might actually give us more interest in the division itself. I know that's kind of reaching, but right now, the division itself sucks. Don't get me wrong. I agree with the Sleg Daddy that the match between Natalya and Brie Bella was actually pretty good, but no one gave a fuck about it because the Divas division has been so badly buried. They just want to mock it. But in this respect, if they go with this saying that the Divas from Total Divas believe they're better than the Divas that are normally on the show, we may actually have something interesting that could last a couple of months. You could have Eva Marie, and I said Eva Velez. I'm sorry for my review of SummerSlam. I said Eva Marie was Eva Velez, so I'm sorry. I just repeated myself. But this actually would work. Have JoJo go up against someone in the regular division for the Divas. You could do that. This actually could give us some interest. Do I believe it's the right thing to do? It's the only thing they could do to give some interest in the division. That's just my opinion. The match itself, my sweet Naomi briefly faced the luscious Layla, and Layla lost with a roll-up. You see that these two could not face one another. AJ had to face my Naomi. They could not put these two incredible women together because the planet would implode if they actually fought one another. Unless it's for a pay-per-view, then the planet won't implode. But on TV, everything would implode. So this, I don't know what it's going to lead to, but hopefully it will do as I say. Let Total Divas Wrestling women go up against the Divas Wrestling women, and hopefully we'll get something interesting. Now, let's see. The Miz and Wade Barrett match. Now, the match itself really didn't mean anything, and that kind of goes along with how they're doing with Wade Barrett. He gets thrown into the figure four by the wonderful Miz, and finally the Miz did the figure four properly. Do it like the Nature Boy Ric Flair, not like you think you want it, because no one's going to get over on it. No one is going to be caring about it. But he did the move properly, and Fandango did, as I call it for the Fandango. The Fandango. Ooh, no. How can I say this? Fandango. Flamingo drop. The Flamingo drop was done on the Miz, and now the feud is continued. Well, actually, the feud has now been fully promoted. Do I think it's going to be good? I don't know. But at least it's something. Let's see. Anything else? The Paul Heyman segment and the CM Punk segment. Paulie sounded pretty good. Saying simply, you know what? We need to stop fighting. I forgive you. Let's be a family. Essentially. CM Punk comes out a little later, says, you know what? I don't give a fuck about being family. And the guy that was in the audience that was booing, that made CM Punk much better. It was a good thing. Now, either that was a plant or it was actual fan. It really doesn't matter. It hyped the crowd up and people loved it. In the end, what did we get? After a commercial break, Curtis Axel trying to beat the crap out of a CM Punk. And CM Punk in the end looks very good. This just leads into another match with Brock Lesnar. And I'm not bored with that. This is one of the two mid-card feuds I have no problem with. Next to Cody and Damian. I'm glad to see it. So finally, let's get this over with. The 12-ton elephant in the room. It gets more higher. The 5-ton elephant in SummerSlam and the 12-ton elephant in this show. Knowing that Cena's not coming back for 4 to 6 months, it's going to make the show a lot better. For him coming back and for highlighting everyone else. This is good. I know people can't stand Cena, but look, it's not all Cena's fault. This is Vince's doing. Of course, Cena's taking advantage of it, but this is all about Vince. But when you see that Cena's going away for at least 4 to 6 months, will make people more interested in him when he comes back, and will make the product more interesting because now they have to highlight other people to compensate. And Daniel Bryan is another one. If you saw my title, my SummerSlam review, the initiation into the Breakfast Club, this is still that initiation. Daniel Bryan was put over very well with Stephanie. Then was escorted out of the building because he insulted her. By the end of the show, when everyone was gathered outside for the coronation of the Viper Randy Orton, the long, lengthy, wonderful promo segment from Triple H made sense for the storyline. And leaving a very short segment for the Viper was good. He doesn't talk very well. He has a very monotone voice. Let Triple H do the talking, which was necessary. What did we get in the end? We got the Shield beating the crap out of Daniel Bryan, who managed to get back in the building. And then we get Daniel Bryan RKO'd by Randy Orton. I say this now. I'm going to say this early. The reason they're doing this is because since John Cena's not there, they need to highlight everyone else. You'll eventually see more out of CM Punk. You're going to see a lot out of Daniel Bryan. No matter how you feel about him being from ROH and you don't think he has the ability, they have no choice but to highlight the people that are most hot right now. Darren Young is going to be somewhat hot because of his announcement. CM Punk is going to be very hot because he's working with Brock Lesnar, so they're going to promote him too. But when it comes to Daniel Bryan, he was shit years ago. He was somewhat interesting halfway through 2011 to 2012. Now he's hot. They must put him in a position to make money. Even if he can't talk very well. Even if he's a small guy with a very little physique. Don't need all 5 tools to make you a star. You can have 3 to 4 tools and you can still do it by accentuating the positive and hiding the negative. That's what they're doing in WWE. And this is what I'm saying right now. For the wonderful Triple H. Yes, Daniel Bryan will be dealing with the wonderful Randy Orton, the Mr. Baby Oil himself. But in the end, to truly get Daniel Bryan over, to truly induct him into the Breakfast Club, along with CM Punk, who mainly just does catering, you will have Daniel Bryan with him. So eventually, Triple H will have a match with a Daniel Bryan. We thought it was going to be McMahon, but we see they're all heels now. So it's going to happen. Triple H versus Daniel Bryan, either at WrestleMania or maybe Survivor Series, TLC. It's going to happen. We are going to see that match. Do I think it's going to be a bad match? No, it might be good. So how do I rate this show? I'm going to give it a B again. This actually was very good. Seeing as much as we've seen, this was a very heavy card. And I wasn't too upset about anything that was being done in the show. It was that, except for the Ryback, I really hated it. But that can't take away from a good, solid B show. So I hope you enjoyed the Zane Fusion. Subscribe and comment to my channel. Give me a thumbs up. And please tell me your thoughts. This is how I learn. This is how I have enjoyment from this channel. Have a good day.